is Lee Ryan, the show director of Motorama, the international motorized equipment exposition that is held annually in Los Angeles. Motorama is a showcase for the most spectacular, the most beautiful, and unique in the automotive, motorcycle, boat, and airplane field. Mr. Pete Peterson and Mr. Bob Lindsay, the publisher of 4 highly successful magazines, Motor Trend, Auto, Hot Rod, and Cycle, decided that Southern California was the ideal locale for this presentation. The vast throngs that have attended each year are ample evidence of the wisdom of their decision. In the ensuing film, you will see part of the show and the energy and effort that was expended to make it a success.
Planning and preliminary work on Motorama required the combined efforts of a large staff of experienced people. Pete Peterson and Bob Lindsay, owners of Trend Incorporated, worked with the show's director, Lee Ryan, in making decisions on the scope and format of the show. Valuable editorial assistance in the selection of exhibits was provided by Trend's very competent staff, including Wally Parks, editor of Hot Rod magazine, Dick Van Austin, editor of Auto, Walt Warren, editorial director, Bob Green, editor of Cycle, and Griff Borgeson, editor of Motor Trend. Motorama required the assistance of many, many other people, from the switchboard operator to a large art department, where the preparation of advertising copy, show signs, and other material consumed hundreds of hours. The actual production of the vast amount of printed matter used in the advertising and exploitation campaign on Motorama was, in itself, a huge task. The thousands of pieces of literature employed in publicizing the show, not only in the Los Angeles area, but throughout the entire West, constituted but a fraction of the effort put forth to attract patrons to this unique exposition. Outdoor advertising was used in great profusion. Signs, street banners, and electric displays all helped attract record throngs. Setting up a show of such magnitude is truly a major undertaking. Such routines as draining gas tanks, polishing the cars, setting them in place to display them to their best advantage are tasks in which the owners naturally participate. As proud of their vehicles as the owners of luxurious custom cars, the hot rod builders strive to make their cars really attractive. These last-minute preparations involve the efforts of decorators, the show management, auditorium management, and exhibitors. Handled with the care that a world record-holding vehicle deserves, Colonel Goldie Gardner's MG is wheeled into position. Equal caution is observed in moving Buick's fabulous XP300 onto the show floor, ready for placement on the turntable, which gave this magnificent automobile a most effective showing. To provide a better side view of a Lakester-type car made of an airplane drop tank, the machine is tipped for the benefit of spectators. 18 coats of paint were not unusual on the display roadsters, but the best paint job in the world is ineffective without that high polish. Turntables enhanced various displays. The Gardner MG was placed on such a setting to permit a clearer view and allow more thorough inspection of the streamlined body. Buick's XP300 was displayed in Show Center in a very dramatic and colorful setting. Just getting the car in proper position required the efforts of a large crew of workmen. The commercial exhibitors spared no expense in preparing their displays, all of which were sparkling and attractive. Boats and airplanes shared spectator interest with cars and motorcycles. Incidentally, many record holders were exhibited at the show. Opening night of Motorama was a panoply of lights and color. Some idea of the size of the opening night crowd is given by the number of vehicles pouring into the Pan Pacific parking area. There was always a steady flow of patrons at all hours. Sidewalks and parkways outside the auditorium were thronged with show patrons, many of whom had driven hundreds of miles to visit the exposition. Despite the rush at the ticket windows, Pan Pacific personnel handled the ticket demand with great efficiency. Before the spectators entered the building, they were treated to one of the show's finest exhibits, that supersonic aircraft, the Douglas Skyrocket. The Navy's superfast rocket ship was located directly opposite the main entrance of the building. The multitudes taxed the building to capacity on all 5 days of the exposition. Motorama was of such importance that top-ranking television station KTLA decided to beam its popular feature, City at Night, from the show floor. Covering the exposition in every detail, the TV cameras opened the program with several views of the XP300. The many innovations in this spectacular car were demonstrated by its designer and builder, Mr. Charles Chain, an official of General Motors. Such features as push-button controls, which opened the hood and operated wheel jacks, were revealed to the TV audience, estimated at more than 600,000 persons. One of the most beautiful roadsters in Motorama was the red hot rod designed and built by Dick Flint. Displayed in the trend booth, this sparkling little car was given prominent television time and was a magnet for enthusiasts who admired its top-flight craftsmanship. Moving through the spacious aisles of Motorama, the TV cameras searched out such unusual displays as the Scorpion and the Wasp, two small cars with special fiberglass bodies. Motorama donated space to numerous clubs and associations. One of the more interesting displays was set up by the National Hot Rod Association, an organization of more than 7,000 members representing every state in Canada. The story of the association's activities is related by Wally Parks, the president, and Officer Chuck Pollard of the California Highway Patrol. An unusual vehicle, the Aero Car, a practical flying automobile, was one of the most fascinating exhibits at Motorama. Moulton Taylor of Longview, Washington, who designed and built the machine, explained mechanical details of the Aero Car, which was flown from Washington to Los Angeles specifically for Motorama, under sponsorship of General Petroleum. Another world champion on display at Motorama was the Shoestring, with a recorded speed just under 200 miles per hour. To provide a graphic idea of the size of the crowds, our cameramen shot some scenes from a crow's nest high above the auditorium floor. These shots effectively prove the great interest that exists among Southern California residents in things automotive. Every display in Motorama was accorded minute inspection by the patrons. Every exhibit held the interest of the spectators, many of whom returned to the show a second or even a third time for a more leisurely and thorough viewing of the various booths. It was estimated that at least 6,000 persons from states other than California viewed the exposition, a testimonial to the wide drawing power of this presentation. No little credit is due the exhibitors, both commercial and non-commercial, for arousing such intense interest. Any exposition of such magnitude requires a program to ensure proper viewing, and the Motorama programs were in great demand. Not all Motorama fans were adults. One future enthusiast sought a vantage point on his dad's trusty shoulders to make certain he wouldn't miss a thing. Club members often attended the show in groups, wearing the insignia of their special affiliation. Many of these organizations came long distances to the show. A very unique little car was the rear-engine roadster exhibited by Ack Miller of Whittier. This trim vehicle is one of the fastest, competing in the Bonneville National Time Trials and other notable speed events. A Ford pickup truck, powered by a highly chromed Oldsmobile engine, attracted wide attention. A very fine example of a hot rodder's ingenuity. Augmenting his car's beautiful upholstering and chromed instrument panel, a roadster owner enhanced the charm of his exhibit by posing a lovely co-ed in the car. The perfectly streamlined Lakesters, such as the SoCal Special, were the center of great attraction. Cars of this type employ an airplane drop tank as a body. They're run primarily in straightaway time trials. Another Lakester type, a Pontiac-powered car, really packed them in, including the small fry. An automobile powered with an engine designed for automobiles is one thing, but a car driven by an airplane engine is a great rarity. Displayed in the National Hot Rod Association booth, a roadster belonging to Jott Horn was a focal point of attention, due primarily to its unusual power plant. a prime example of the ingenuity displayed by youthful Californians in experimentation and mechanical development. Motorama patrons, for the most part, were not casual viewers. A great deal of interest was shown by most of the spectators in the mechanical and technical aspects of the various displays. One of the more interesting competition cars on exhibit was a Cooper 500cc, a small English racing machine with a Jap motorcycle engine for its power plant. This trim little car was a center of attention, the owner helpfully displaying his car in such a manner that everyone interested in its mechanical makeup could enjoy a close inspection. What's more, it was actually taken apart and then put back together again during the exposition. No less expansive than the automobile section was the motorcycle display. Record-holding machines were everywhere. Most of the American and British motorcycle industry was represented with colorful commercial displays. Cutaways and other technical displays were featured, giving the patrons a close-up of the inner workings of the various types of engines. Some of the machines sported unusual names like Satan and the Beast. A large percentage of Motorama spectators were ardent motorcycle enthusiasts. One of the more popular English motorcycles on exhibit was the Triumph, with the exhibitor featuring a cutaway model. The British bikes vied with American and Italian makes for general interest. An extraordinary racing motorcycle, noted for its great acceleration, is the Beast. The world's fastest hot rod, a beautiful streamlined two-engine car, was brought from Denver for the Motorama showing. This machine, which exceeded 230 miles an hour in a straightaway time trial on the Bonneville Salt Flats, was built by Ken's and Leslie of Denver. Known as the Climber Ken Special, the car is powered by two Ford V8 engines, one of them in front and one in back of the driver's seat. The car operates on one or both engines at the driver's discretion. The snug driver's compartment was designed for easy viewing of the instrument panel and for maximum comfort. The aerodynamic streamlining was a great factor in this car's remarkable speed runs. Colonel Gardner's MG Streamliner was always a central point of interest. Located in the British section of the show, it was flanked by the Roots display, the Jaguar exhibit, and the Nuffield show cars. These fine British products were beautifully displayed by their exhibitors. The decorations and settings for the cars were among the most lavish in the entire exposition. The show patrons, many of whom had never inspected a British car before, displayed great interest in these automobiles, and many sales were made directly on the show floor. The English displays elicited much favorable comment from Motorama fans. They occupied nearly 10,000 square feet of floor space. The Jaguars, Hillmans, and MGs drew the attention of many Hollywood personalities, as British cars enjoy such great favor in the motion picture colony. But practically everybody who came to Motorama manifested keen interest in the British automotive products. Viewed from a distance, the Aero car looked very much like any other small airplane. A miniature of the Bonneville Salt Flats, where the Southern California Timing Association stages a national event each year, was the principal display in the association's booth. With tiny cars running over the course exactly as they do at the big meet, this exhibit held spectators absolutely fascinated. Adults as well as youngsters were much intrigued by the replica. And incidentally, it required many, many months of hard labor to build. Another organization with a most interesting exhibit, the Motorama Foundation. Planning a 5-mile straightaway with a connecting road race course, the foundation displayed an artist's projections of the proposed facility. Officers Pollard and Earhart of the California Highway Patrol viewed the sketches as they're explained by Raleigh Mack, vice president of the foundation. Finding a suitable site for the straightaway and road course has been one of the biggest problems of the foundation officers. Nels Nelson, who represents Indian Sales Corporation, is the president. Sports car and hot rod enthusiasts as well are following the foundation's progress with great interest. By viewing the full length of the Pan-Pacific Auditorium, we are better able to appreciate the expansiveness of the Motorama display and the great spectator interest in all of the exhibits. No show is complete without hot dogs, Cokes, and similar good old American refreshments. The concessionaires at Motorama were kept busy day and night supplying the hungry throngs. A special theater was set up inside the auditorium to house the General Motors Previews of Progress, a show within a show. The services of doormen were required to restrict the crowds. And a fill-to-capacity sign was used every time the show was in progress. Demonstrations involving principles of physics and chemistry were given by Frank Ferroni of General Motors. He showed, for instance, how synthetic rubber is made, an intriguing demonstration. The principle of jet propulsion was demonstrated by Mr. Ferroni, who used a small pistol fired by a CO2 capsule and a miniature airplane strung on a tight wire to dramatize this demonstration. The intense concentration by the audience was evidence of the great interest that exists in experimentation and research. The theater area also was used for showing racing films, another very popular feature. Commercial exhibitors were kept busy answering the questions of spectators with boundless curiosity who wanted to know all about automotive products, from oil coils to innovations of every conceivable kind. To make certain that their displays were not bypassed, some exhibitors added a little something special. This booth holder had no difficulty in attracting throngs to his display, the reason, or reasons, being quite evident and pleasing. More interest in commercial exhibits was created whenever an actual demonstration was given of the product on display. Spectators flocked around these booths to watch closely. Another display enhanced by the presence of a pretty girl. Not original, but oh my, how effective. Striking in its decorative scheme was the booth of Trend Incorporated, officers of which originated the Motorama show idea. Several lovely young ladies graced this display, too. The Art Directors Club of Detroit provided a very popular exhibit, a $100,000 automotive art display representing the work of 4 of the larger automobile advertising agencies. Custom cars were a constant magnet of attention, and Motorama featured many of them. The custom car owners spared no expense in making their machines attractive and distinctive according to their own tastes. Each of these cars represented several thousands of dollars, no small percentage of which was spent on instrument panels. Styles of the custom cars were as varied as the tastes of the spectators who constantly surrounded them. Cars with fiberglass bodies intrigued the crowds. In fact, Motorama had no slack hours as far as spectators were concerned. From opening to closing, they jammed the building. Strategically situated in the center of the auditorium, Buick's XP300 occupied a dramatic and beautiful setting on its revolving turntable. The sleek, clean lines of this machine and its unique and revolutionary design were a delight to all automobile enthusiasts. Displayed through the courtesy of General Motors and Mr. Charles Chain, its designer and builder, the XP was insured for $1 million for the Motorama appearance. Exhibited so as to permit viewers a 2-level inspection of the machine, this dream car held some spectators for 30 minutes or more as they studied its every innovation. Patrons of Motorama left the exposition with words of wonderment and praise for the scores of outstanding exhibits they had seen. Representing the work of hundreds of skilled designers, engineers, and craftsmen, both professional and amateur, the machines on display were valued at more than $2 million. To prepare them especially for show purposes, no effort or expense was spared by the owners and builders. Perfect condition, a must. This great expenditure of care, energy, and money was matched by the show sponsors to present a truly memorable motorized equipment exposition. The exhibitors, both commercial and non-commercial, and the show management were gratified to hear the many expressions of great pleasure and satisfaction from Motorama patrons. As the lights flashed the end of the 1951 Motorama, plans were already on the boards for an even greater show in '52.